I, as I said, I was a reluctant founder. I came from this military unit, which is sort of breeding ground for much of Israel's, stellar tech scene. So when I speak to VCs, I always say that the first thing they should have done back in 2007, when I left the military, was to write a check to every single friend of mine who started a company. And then I'd be sitting on their LP calls, giving them money, and not on their pitch calls asking for money. But I didn't do that. And as all of my friends started successful companies, I looked in the sidelines and I told myself, I could never do this. This is too hard. I don't know how I'll manage it. And what clicked into place for me in Cord is that it's, again, a cliche, but it is true for me, which is I was just incredibly obsessed with this particular idea and the responses that I got from people when I pitched it to them early on. And then Jackson, my co-founder, who has even more experience than I building product from the early days at Facebook, and he egged me on and just started riffing with me on this idea, growing it bigger. And so it's big and meaningful for us personally. So going back to the mission thing, it's just something we really care strongly about, this thing about collaboration and context. And I think, the internet developed organically, but it didn't evolve in the most efficient way. It's like one of these organisms, like maybe peacocks, where like not every organism really is best suited for its life. So peacocks, famously, they have huge, heavy tails, and that makes them very good targets for predators. And it's in flux. Like maybe they go away sometime, or maybe there's other things in the environment which makes that suitable, even though it really is a burden for the peacocks. And in the same way, the internet evolved, and there's lock-in in certain paradigms. And so it's evolved to have these hundreds of SaaS tools, all of which are distinct, and communication happens elsewhere. So you keep copying and pasting and sharing screenshots and losing context. And just like email is definitely 100% worse for work than Slack, until someone like Slack comes along and devotes the energy and the brain power to bring in a better product there. We believe that you can improve further. You can improve on the way you work inside the browser, inside your SaaS tools. And that idea just fascinated me. So I just thought, what else could I do? And there's nothing else could I do that I could do. And everything justifies working on that. So I know, I don't think mechanically about my career and like I need to get to X no matter, no matter what. And I think people don't start their life imagining I want to be a COO or I want to be a data engineer. These things don't really exist, when you're young, right? And so I think kind of searching for your inner motivation and your sort of motivation of like copying something other people do, people around you do that is inspiring. It's a cliche, but it's true.
Awesome. So it's a mix of like believing in your vision and kind of let it drive you. That's what pushed you.
Yeah. I think, for me, I just got to the point I couldn't, think of doing something else.
How did you meet your co-founder?
So Jackson was one of the first people to start the London office for Facebook. So he moved here back in 2012 when they started the London engineering office and grew it from 0 to like 450 engineers with a bunch of other people. But that meant bootstrapping a lot of teams and recruiting a ton of people. So he was well known in the Facebook office. And when we were acquired by Facebook and I moved to London, I met him around the office and we sort of just socially got together. There was, we realized we both had this very distinct pair of mint colored trousers, kind of like that light green mint in the background in Implement's collars. And we were both wearing it pretty regularly, and there was the day we both wore it to the office the same day. We called it the mint trousers day, and made a fun thing out of it. So yeah,